Chapter 1. Decorative lights and illuminants lit up the extravagant Wilson family mansion. Tonight was the 70th birthday banquet of Lady Wilson, the head of the Wilson family. Her grandchildren and their spouses gathered around her to hand her their luxurious gifts. "Grandma, I heard that you love the Chinese tea. I looked high and low for the century-old pu'er tea worth $500,000 to present it to you. Grandma, you are a devout Buddhist. This Buddha statue is carved from aesthetic Hachan jade. It is worth $700,000. Looking at the nicely wrapped gifts in front of her, Lady Wilson laughed heartily. The entire ambiance was harmonious and happy. Suddenly, Charlie Wade, Lady Wilson's eldest grandson-in-law, spoke. "Grandma, could you lend me $1 million, please? Mrs. Lewis from the welfare home is diagnosed with uremia and I need the money for her treatment." The entire Wilson family was cast in extreme shock. Everyone stared at Charlie with bewilderment and surprise. This live-in grandson-in-law was overly atrocious and bold. Not only did he not prepare a gift for Lady Wilson on her birthday, but he actually had the audacity to ask her for $1 million. 3 years ago, Lord Wilson, who was still alive and well, had come home with Charlie one day and insisted on marrying him to their granddaughter, Claire Wilson. Back then, Charlie was as poor and miserable as a beggar. Lord Wilson had passed away after they got married. Ever since then, everyone in the Wilson family tried to kick him out of the family. However, Charlie was always indifferent and nonchalant like a statue despite the insults and ridicule, and he spent his days in the Wilson family quietly as a live-in son-in-law. He was at his wits' end that he had to borrow money from Lady Wilson today. Mrs. Lewis, who had taken him in and saved his life, had uremia. She needed at least $1 million for dialysis and a kidney transplant. He had no other ideas except for asking for Lady Wilson's help. He felt that since it was her birthday today, she might be delighted to have some mercy and provide her assistance. However, Lady Wilson was still laughing gleefully when abruptly her lips curled downward and her eyes furrowed indignantly. She hurled the teacup in her hand to the floor and ground. "Bastard! Are you here to celebrate my birthday or borrow money?" Claire hurried forward and said, "Grandma, Charlie is not thinking straight, please forgive him." She then pulled her husband aside frantically. At this moment, Wendy, Claire's cousin, sneered in disdain. "Claire, look at the piece of trash you're married to. Gerald is only my fiancé and we haven't even gotten married yet, but he gifted Grandma the jade Buddha. Look at your good-for-nothing husband. Not only did he come empty-handed, but he also has the nerve to ask Grandma for money." "You're right, Charlie, we're both the grandsons-in-law of the Wilson family, but you're such a disgrace." The man who was talking was Gerald White, Wendy's fiancé, who was also the son of the wealthy family in town. Although Gerald was about to marry Wendy, in his eyes, Claire was so much more beautiful and elegant than his fiancé. Claire Wilson was the famous goddess of beauty in Orus Hill. But Gerald was very frustrated and irritated when such a beauty got married to a loser. It's best for this useless loser to get out of the Wilson family now. Yes. He is such a disgrace to our family. Perhaps his intention is not to borrow money but to spoil the joyful ambience of Grandma's birthday instead. Charlie clenched his fists tightly as the entire Wilson family was humiliating and ridiculing them. If it wasn't for the sake of the urgency, he would have left this annoying place. However, his father's words echoed in his head. He had taught him to be grateful for the help he received and to return the favor tenfold. Hence, he suppressed the fury and humiliation slowly building within him and said to Lady Wilson, "Grandma, whoever saves one life saves the world entirely. Please, I beg for your mercy." Someone in the room snorted loudly. "Mr. Wade, stop force-feeding chicken soup to Grandma. If you want to rescue someone, you can find a way on your own. Who do you think you are to ask for money from Grandma?" It was Wendy's brother, Harold Wilson. The sinister brother and sister had always been prejudiced against Claire, who was superior to them in every aspect. Hence, they would always attack Charlie at any chance they could seize. Claire, who was wearing a slightly awkward expression on her face, started, "Grandma, Charlie's father died when he was 8. It was Mrs. Lewis at the welfare home who had brought him up. He is utterly grateful for her graciousness and that is why he wants to return the favor so badly. Could you please help him?" Lady Wilson ground with an indignant face, "You want me to help him? Okay, divorce him now and marry Mr. Jones. If you do as I say, I'll give him $1 million right away." The Mr. Jones that Lady Wilson was referring to was Wendell Jones, a man who was always pursuing Claire despite her married status. The Jones family was one of the prominent families in the upper social circle in Orrus Hill, which was much more powerful than the Wilson family. Lady Wilson had always wanted to get on their good side. At this moment, the butler sprinted in and said, "Mr. Jones sent a birthday gift to Lady Wilson. It is a Buddha talisman carved from the jadeite stone worth $3 million. Lady Wilson broke into a large smile and quickly blurted, "Bring it to me. Let me see." The butler immediately presented the emerald green Buddha talisman, which sent waves of exclamation across the living hall. The emerald talisman was crystal clear with its vibrant and sharp colors, without any trace of impurities. It was of the finest jade quality. Gerald, who had gifted the Buddha statue, gloomed in irritation instantly. He didn't expect Wendell Jones, who had nothing to do with the Wilson family, to be so generous and lavish. Lady Wilson caressed the talisman cheerfully and said, "Oh, Mr. Jones is so sensible. It would be a sweet dream come true if you were my grandson-in-law." Then, she lifted her gaze at Claire and asked, "So, how's that? Do you want to consider my terms and conditions?" Claire shook her head decidedly. "No, Grandma. I will never divorce Charlie." A dark stormy cloud instantly hovered beneath Lady Wilson's eyes. She shouted angrily, "You ungrateful thing! What good is that loser? Why do you want to waste your time on him? Kick that loser out of my house. He is not allowed at my birthday banquet. I don't want to see his face." Charlie heaved a sigh of dismay and regret. He didn't want to stay with the Wilson family anymore, so he said to Claire, "Claire, I am going to the hospital to visit Mrs. Lewis." Claire said quickly, "I'll go with you." Lady Wilson shouted again, "If you leave now, you're no longer my granddaughter. You can take your mom, your dad, and that loser and get out of the Wilson family." Claire stared at her grandmother. She did not expect to hear such a harsh coming from her. Charlie interjected, "You stay here, don't worry about me." Before Claire could compose herself from the trance, he turned and left. Harold laughed behind him. "Hey, my dear Charlie, if you leave with an empty stomach, will you go on the streets and beg for food? If you do so, you'll tarnish our family name. Here, I have $1. You can buy a bun or something to eat." Harold produced a $1 from his pocket and threw it at Charlie's feet. The entire family's thunderous laughter echoed across the house. Charlie gritted his teeth in annoyance and left the house without looking back. When Charlie arrived at the hospital, he immediately went to the cashier department to try to negotiate an extension of payment for another 2 days. However, when he approached the nurses, he was informed that overnight, Mrs. Lewis had been transferred to Fairview Hospital, Eastcliff's top hospital, for treatment. Charlie gasped in shock and quickly asked, "How much does it cost? I'll find a way to settle it." The nurse said, "The bill is $3 million in total. $1 million has already been paid. The remaining $2 million needs to be settled within a week." "Who covered the $1 million? The nurse shook his head. "I have no idea." Charlie frowned in confusion. Just as he turned around to figure it out, a man of about 50 years of age in a black suit with gray hair was standing behind him. They exchanged glances, and the man bowed before him and said, "Young master. We've finally found you. Sorry for all the troubles and misery you've suffered for all these years." Charlie furrowed and asked coldly as if he was a completely different person, "Are you Stephen Thompson?" The man gasped in surprise. "Young master, you still remember me?" Charlie startled slightly and murmured, "Of course I do. I remember each and every one of you. You forcibly drove my mom and dad out of Eastcliff along with me and we fled the city. My parents died along the way and I became an orphan. What do you want from me now?" Stephen grimaced sorrowfully and said, "Young master, Lord Wade was very sad when he learned about your father's death. He never stopped looking for you. Come, let's go home and meet him." Charlie said coldly, "Just go, I don't want to see him." Stephen said, "Young master, are you still mad at your grandfather?" "Of course," Charlie said loudly. "I'll never forgive him in my entire life." Stephen sighed dejectedly. "Before I came here, the master did say that you will not forgive him." "Good. Luckily he still has some sense in him." Stephen continued, "Lord Wade knows that you've had a hard life for so many years and he's asking me to compensate you if you don't want to go home. He will buy the largest company in Orrus Hill and give it to you. Besides, here, take this card, the PIN number is your birthday." Stephen handed over the premium black card from Citibank. "Young master, there are only 5 of such cards in the country." Charlie shook his head sternly. "No, I don't want it, take it away." Young master, Mrs. Lewis is still $2 million in debt for her medical bills. If she doesn't pay up, she might be in danger. Are you threatening me? Is this part of your sinister plan? Stephen waved his hands frantically. Oh no. We wouldn't dare to do such a thing. Keep the card, then you'll have enough money to pay the bill. Charlie asked, how much is on this card? Lord Wade said that he deposited some pocket money for you on this card. It's not much, just $10 billion. Chapter 2. $10 billion? Charlie was shocked. His eyes wide open, his mouth wide agape. He knew that his grandfather was very wealthy, but back then, he was too young to understand the concept of money. He only knew that the Wade family was one of the wealthiest families in Eastcliff and even the country, but he wasn't sure what his network was. Right now, he finally knew. If $10 billion were just pocket money, it meant that the entire Wade family had a net worth of more than $1 trillion. Frankly speaking, at this moment, he was slightly touched and swayed. However, when he thought about his deceased parents and how his grandfather was part of the reasons why they had died, he knew he could never easily forgive him. Sensing his frustration, Stephen quickly said, young master, you are one of the Wade family members, so the money is yours. Besides, technically speaking, it belongs to your father. The master said that if you're willing to go home, he will let you inherit the family's $1 trillion business empire. If you don't want to go home yet, use this money for your living expenses. Oh yes, another piece of news: Orus Hill's largest and most profitable company, the Emgrand Group with a market value of $100 billion, had been wholly acquired by the Wade family yesterday. All the equities are now under your name, you can claim your right at the company tomorrow. Charlie listened to him in a daze, completely in disbelief. Wasn't it a little too much investment from the Wade family for his sake? A premium black card with $10 billion, Emgrand Group with the net worth of $100 billion. Although Orus Hill was a land of talents, the only constant honorable existence was the Emgrand Group. It was the champ of Orus Hill's business industry. Any prominent and influential family had to bow before the Emgrand Group, including those families that humiliated him today: the Wilson family, the White family, and even the Jones family, who was still trying to pursue his wife. They were nothing but lowly servants in front of the Emgrand Group. And this magnificent company was his now? Stephen handed him a business card and said, young master, you might need some time to calm down and think about it, so I'll excuse myself now. This is my card with my number on it, please call me if you need anything. At that, Stephen turned and left. Charlie was still in a daze after he left. He didn't know whether he should accept the compensation from the Wade family. However, he recalled the past decade of misery and hardship and the humiliation he had experienced when he married Claire. This was the compensation that the Wade family was giving him for his suffering, so I shouldn't take it. Besides, Miss Lewis urgently needed $2 million for her treatment. He gritted his teeth as he clutched on the card tightly, then turned back to the cashier department. Hi, I would like to settle the bill. The card was swiped, the password keyed in, and the transaction was complete. $2 million was credited into the hospital's account just like that. Charlie felt like he was still hovering in the clouds. Did he just become a billionaire in the blink of an eye? He went home in a trance. At this moment, the house was fueled with the wrath of fury. Claire and her parents did not live in the Wilson family villa, but they stayed in an ordinary house instead. Since Claire married Charlie after Lord Wilson died, they were kicked out of the villa. His mother-in-law was screaming in great dismay, Charlie Wade, that loser. He's such an embarrassment. If you don't divorce him now, your grandma might kick you out of the Wilson Group. Claire said calmly, if she does, I'll just find another job. Her mother growled angrily, what's so good about that loser, anyway? Why can't you just divorce him and marry Wendell? If you marry Wendell Jones, our whole family can hold our head up high. Her father added, your mom's right. If you marry Wendell, our family will immediately become a precious treasure in the family. Your grandma will cherish you and pamper you every day. Claire uttered, just stop. I won't divorce Charlie. Both parents had wanted to keep on persuading Claire when Charlie pushed the door open and walked in. His in-laws gave him a dirty look when they saw him. His mother-in-law snorted in disgust, I thought you'd forgotten the way home, loser. Charlie sighed quietly inside his heart. His mother-in-law had always looked down on him, but what would she do if she were to know that he was now the owner of Emgrand Group and had $10 billion in cash? However, this was not the time to reveal his true identity. He had left the Wade family for a long time now, Who knew how the family was doing now? What if someone from the family targeted him if he exposed himself? Staying in the dark was the best option for now. Hence, he lowered his head and said humbly, "Mother, I'm sorry for all the troubles I've caused today." His mother-in-law shouted, "Trouble? This is more than trouble, you're putting us at stake. Can't you have the slightest decency and get out of our house?" Claire quickly interjected, "Mom, how could you say that? Charlie is your son-in-law." "Bullshit," her mother growled. "I don't have such a loser as my son-in-law. It's better if he can go as far away as he can." Claire nudged Charlie and said, "Hurry, let's go back to the room." Charlie nodded gratefully and fled back to the room. They had been married for 3 years, but they had never consummated the marriage, not even once. Claire slept in bed while he slept on the floor at the side. Tonight, Charlie found it hard to fall asleep. What unfolded today was a real shock and consternation, and he had yet to digest it. Before going to bed, Claire said, "How is Mrs. Lewis doing? I have about $100,000 with me now, you can use it tomorrow." Charlie said, "It's okay. Someone paid her bill and transferred her to Eastcliff for treatment." "Really?" Claire exclaimed in awe. "Wow. So, Mrs. Lewis will be fine then?" "Yes," Charlie said, "Mrs. Lewis has done good deeds throughout her life and helped so many people. Now, someone is returning her favor." "Glad to hear that." Claire nodded with a smile. "You can have peace of mind now." "Yes. I want to sleep now. There's a lot to handle and the company lately, I'm exhausted." "What's happening in the company?" "It's not doing very well lately. Grandma wants to collaborate with Emgrand, but Wilson Group is too weak as compared to their scale. They wouldn't even bat an eye at us." "Oh? Has there not been a collaboration between Wilson Group and Emgrand before?" Claire laughed sarcastically. "Of course not. What are we in the eyes of Emgrand? I bet we look like a speck of insignificant dust to them. Even Gerald's family, Wendy's fiancé's family, could barely scratch the tail of Emgrand's business empire. This is also why Grandma is eager for them to be married soon so the White family can help our family build some connections with Emgrand." Charlie nodded knowingly. The Wilson family had used all the tricks up their sleeves to collaborate with Emgrand Group. However, Lady Wilson never would have thought that he owned Emgrand Group now. Thinking of this, Charlie decided to take over Emgrand Group and lend Claire a hand in her business. The Wilson family did not treat her fairly and they bullied her too much. As her husband, he had the responsibility to help her improve her status in the family. He said in his heart earnestly, "Claire, your husband is different now. I will not let anyone look down on you again. I will make the entire Wilson family bow down to you." Chapter 3. The next morning, after preparing breakfast, Charlie rode his scooter to Emgrand Group's office. He parked his scooter on the side of Emgrand's parking lot. As soon as he locked his scooter, a black Bentley slowly parked in a spot across from him. He looked up inadvertently and saw a young couple getting out of the car. The man was wearing a branded suit, looking very handsome and smart. Meanwhile, the lady was dressed up in a flamboyant style. Although somewhat gaudy, she was considered a beauty. As it turned out, the lady was Wendy Wilson, Claire's cousin, and the man was her fiancé, Gerald White. Charlie didn't know why they were here, but he knew that the best way to avoid trouble was to stay away from them. However, the more eager he wanted to hide from them, the higher chances they would see him. Wendy caught sight of him from the corner of her eyes. She yelped loudly, "Hey, Charlie!" Wendy called out his name in a friendly manner, but Charlie felt goosebumps all over his back. Out of courtesy, he could only stop where he was and wait for them to approach him. He smiled and asked, "Wendy, hey, why are you here?" Wendy chuckled. "Oh, Gerald is here to see Doris Young, vice chairman of Emgrand Group. I'm here to keep him company." Then she turned to look at Gerald with affection and said, "The White family has a lot of projects with Emgrand Group. Not only would it help the White family but also our Wilson family in the future." Charlie didn't know that the White was one of Emgrand Group's business partners. After all, he had just taken over the company and he hadn't had time to get through the details. He didn't show anything unusual on his face. Instead, he simply said with a polite smile, "Mr. White is very talented and magnificent. Both of you make a great couple." Gerald glared at Charlie contemptuously, feeling a surge of anger within him. This loser had been scolded so badly by Lady Wilson yesterday in front of everybody. How was he able to smile like a clown as if nothing had happened today?
Why did Claire, such a stunning and wonderful lady, marry such a loser?
If this loser never existed, he would certainly have pursued Claire with great effort. Who would want to be engaged to Wendy, the girl who paled in comparison in every aspect? Gerald huffed a breath in dismay and asked in a pretentious tone, "Why are you here?" "I'm here to apply for a job," Charlie said. "Apply for a job?" Gerald sneered disdainfully. "You? The loser who can't do anything wants to apply for a job at Emgrand Group? Are you kidding me?" Charlie frowned. "What has it to do with you?" The reason why Wendy called Charlie in the first place was to humiliate him. Now that Gerald had started, she immediately mocked. "Why? Gerald is right, isn't he? In terms of educational background, do you have any achievements or results to show them? Trust me, they wouldn't even entertain a loser like you even if you've come to apply for a security job. Know your place. You're better off going to the streets to scavenge for trash. You might earn $2,000 or $3,000 a month at least." Then, she hurled a water bottle to Charlie's feet and smirked. "There you go. Pick it up and sell it for money. Don't say that I don't care about you." Gerald laughed sinisterly. "You are a piece of trash, but we're still relatives after all. I'll have your back. It happens that I know the vice chairman of Emgrand Group in person. Why don't I say a few good words on your behalf and see if she can arrange a toilet cleaning job for you?" Charlie curled his lips sneer and said, "What kind of job I'm applying for is none of your business. You should mind your own business instead. Emgrand Group is a big company. I believe that they wouldn't want to collaborate with lowly garbage like you." Gerald's face flushed with anger. "Who are you calling garbage?" Charlie replied disdainfully, "You, garbage." Then he turned and walked towards the building, ignoring Gerald's indignant screams behind. "Damn you. Stop. Stop right there, do you hear me?" Very soon, Gerald strode quickly and caught up with Charlie at the elevator hall. He wanted to teach Charlie a lesson, to give him at least 2 slaps on his face to let him know the consequences of offending him, but they were inside Emgrand Group's building now. He was worried that harsh action would tarnish his reputation and infuriate his business partner, so he had no choice but to dismiss the idea. He gritted his teeth and warned, "I'll let you go today, but you won't be so lucky next time." Charlie snorted and walked into the elevator. Before the door closed, he said, "Gerald White, do you really think you're so powerful? Trust me, you will soon know the price to pay for being so cocky and arrogant. You little—" Gerald's face turned into an ugly shade of red. He wanted to rush into the elevator but Wendy pulled his arms and said, "Gerald, don't take the same elevator as that loser, we might suffocate from his stench." He nodded, fully aware that it wasn't wise for him to lay his hands here. Hence, he snorted coldly. "Ha, you're lucky today. I'll teach you a lesson next time." In the elevator, Charlie went directly to the top floor where the chairman's office was located. Stephen had already made all the arrangements for him here at Emgrand. The person in charge of the arrangements was a woman named Doris Young. Doris Young had earned her reputation as a renowned businesswoman in Orus Hill. Not only was she a charming lady, but she was also extremely capable. She had been promoted to vice chairman of Emgrand Group at a young age. She was also among the factors behind the success of the company today. Now that Emgrand Group had been acquired by the Wade family, the former chairman had abdicated and Doris stayed back to assist the new chairman. Doris was quite shocked when she saw Charlie. She didn't expect to see such a young and charming man when she had heard about him from Stephen. She quickly composed herself and greeted him respectfully. "Welcome, Mr. Wade. Please follow me to my office." Chapter 4. This is also the first time Charlie had ever met Doris. He had to admit that Doris was a very stunning and alluring young lady. She was about 27 or 28 years of age with a slender yet curvy body figure, captivating appearance, and a very mature and honorable manner. Sitting down in front of Doris' desk, Charlie started, "I will not come into the office often, so I would like you to continue looking over the company on my behalf. In addition, please do not disclose my identity to the public." Doris was aware that Mr. Wade, who was sitting in front of her now, came from the extraordinary Wade family. For a prominent family like theirs, Emgrand Group was nothing but a mediocre business, so it was normal for him not to manage it himself. Hence, she quickly said, "Sure, Mr. Wade, just tell me if you need anything, I'll be at your service." At this moment, a secretary knocked on the door and said, "Miss Young, a man called Gerald White and his fiancée are here to see you." Doris said instantly, "I'm seeing a VIP now, let them wait." Charlie asked, "Do you know Gerald White?" "Mr. White's family is one of our partners and several of their major projects are linked to our company. They have said that they will be here to see me, they have been here several times too." Charlie uttered in a cold voice, "From now on, Emgrand Group will no longer have any business dealings with the White family. Halt all ongoing and preparatory projects. If the White family still earns a dime from our company, I don't need you as our vice chairman." Doris startled in shock for a while, figuring that someone from the White family must have offended the man. So, she nodded vigorously and exclaimed, "Mr. Wade, don't worry. I'll now order my staff to stop all collaboration with the White family." Charlie nodded satisfyingly and said, "Tell them that Emgrand Group has no interest in collaborating with lowly garbage, then ask the guards to kick them out." Outside the office, Gerald and Wendy were waiting anxiously. The White family had always wanted to be the key players in the collaboration with Emgrand Group, so he hoped that he could build a good relationship with Doris Young and thus bring the family closer to the connection. However, the least expected thing happened. Ms. Young's secretary approached them with several guards. Gerald asked in confusion, "Hi. May I know if Miss Young is available to see us now?" The secretary Laird coldly asked him and said, "Sorry, our vice chairman said that Emgrand Group has no interest in collaborating with lowly garbage like you. From now on, we will cancel all the projects with your family." "What did you say?" Gerald gaped in extreme shock and his jaw almost dropped to the floor. Why did he find the remark so familiar anyway? "Oh, right. Charlie Wade said the exact same thing when they were in the parking lot." What did Doris Young mean by that? Did she really intend to halt all the collaboration with the White family? Gerald felt a surge of blood flooding his head, exploding inside. What happened? Cancelled all projects? A large portion of the White family's profits came from working with Emgrand. If Emgrand Group terminated their ties, didn't it mean that the family's net worth would be cut by half? No, he couldn't accept such a cruel fact. He growled loudly, "I want to see Miss Young. I want to ask her in person." The secretary simply glared at him coldly. "I'm sorry, Miss Young will not see you and you're not allowed here in the future." Gerald shouted in great dismay, "Are you freaking kidding me? We are a long-term business partner of Emgrand. It isn't up to her to terminate our projects just like that. Don't mess with us." The secretary ignored his screaming and directed the security guards around her, "Kick them out." The head of the security team immediately jumped on them. He grabbed Gerald's wrist and twisted it hard behind him. Gerald held in pain and Captain Cooper snorted coldly. "Hurry up and get out of here. If you dare make a scene at Emgrand Group, I'll break you in half." "You're just a security guard. How dare you raise your voice at me? Do you know who I am?" Captain Cooper gave him a slap across his face instantly and shouted, "What are you in the face of Emgrand Group?" Gerald felt his face burning from the slap. He was about to burst in fury when his phone suddenly rang. It was his father. When he answered the call, a serious roar echoed from the other end of the line. "You bastard. What did you do? Emgrand Group wants to terminate all projects with us. Who on earth did you offend?" Gerald whined sorrowfully, "No, Dad, that's not true, I didn't offend anyone. I just came here to see Miss Young, but I haven't even seen her face yet." Gerald's father shouted again, "The people at Emgrand Group said that they've terminated their collaboration with us because of you, the lowly garbage. It's all because of you that our family is suffering a great loss. Hurry and come back. Explain this to your grandfather yourself." Grabbing the phone in a daze, Gerald and Wendy were forcefully escorted out of Emgrand Group's main entrance. Suddenly, Charlie's face appeared in his mind. He turned to Wendy abruptly and asked, "Wendy, is this because of your loser cousin-in-law? Does he have anything to do with Emgrand Group?" Huh? Wendy was obviously taken aback by Gerald's remark. When she pondered the circumstances, it might indeed have something to do with the loser, but he was a loser. Thus, she shook her head and uttered firmly, "No, it is absolutely impossible that he has anything to do with Emgrand Group. He's not even qualified to clean their toilets." "You're right." Gerald nodded numbly. He hung his head low when he thought about his angry father. "I have to return home right away." Very soon, the news of the White family being kicked out of Emgrand Group spread through Orus Hill like wildfire. No one knew of the reason, but they were certain that the White family must have offended Emgrand Group in some way. At this rate, the White family was considered gone. Their net worth has been cut short by more than half. They were originally close to the peak of the social ladder in the city, but after the incident they instantly dropped down several levels and became a second-rate family in terms of social class. Lady Wilson was shaking with anger when she heard the news. She wanted to call off Wendy's engagement with Gerald, but even after the termination, the White family was still more prominent than the Wilson family and she couldn't afford to lose the ties, so she could only bear with it for the moment. Meanwhile, in Doris's office Charlie looked impressed and satisfied after he heard about the process. He highly appreciated her rapid and stern attitude in it. He said with a satisfied smile, "Doris, great job, you did well. Starting today, your salary will be doubled." Doris gasped in astonishment. She stood up and bowed respectfully. "Thank you, Mr. Wade." Charlie nodded and continued, "Also, I want you to make 2 announcements." "Yes, please proceed." "The first thing is to announce the change of Emgrand Group's ownership and nomination of the new chairman, but don't disclose my identity. Just say that he is one Mr. Wade. The second thing is the announcement of Emgrand Group investing $2 billion to build a 6-star hotel in Orus Hill, and announcing the tender bidding for partners. Construction and interior decorating companies throughout the city are welcome to bid." The main business of Wilson Group was interior design and construction. The old lady would dream of hopping on Emgrand's train. Whoever could win the bidding with Emgrand Group would surely become the most sought-after person in the company. Now that he owned Emgrand Group, he could offer his wife some sweet deals. Chapter 5. The 2 announcements released by Emgrand Group completely shook the entire Orus Hill like a high-magnitude earthquake. When the Wilson family learned about the ownership change in Emgrand Group, they figured out why the collaboration with the White family had been terminated. It seemed that Emgrand's new owner didn't think much of the White family. Back to the point, who was Mr. Wade? He simply bought Emgrand Group that was worth hundreds of billions of dollars without batting an eye. He was a little too powerful, wasn't he? Even the richest man in Orus Hill wouldn't be so capable. All of a sudden, a lot of wealthy families were about to eagerly make a move. They wished to establish a connection with the mysterious Mr. Wade while on the other hand wished to marry their daughters to him. Moreover, the announcement about Emgrand Group's investment of $2 billion for the hotel construction project also shook the construction and interior decorating industries in Orus's Hill like a great force surging the ground. $2 billion. They could make a lot of money even tendering scraps of the project. A lot of companies wanted a slice of the lucrative pie, including Lady Wilson, who loved money more than anything. Lady Wilson was over the moon at the moment. $2 billion project. This was the perfect opportunity for the Wilson family to get a contract from the mega project. It would bring their family to the next level. Hence, she called for an urgent family meeting at the villa tonight to discuss ways to achieve a breakthrough in Emgrand Group's mega project. Everyone had to attend. Later that night, at the Wilson family mansion, Charlie tags along nicely since Lady Wilson had asked for everyone's participation. He knew about the old lady's main agenda for the meeting, so he wanted to take this opportunity to boost Claire. When Harold, Claire's cousin, saw him at the mansion, he mocked disdainfully, "Damn. Charlie Wade, you're very shameless. Where did you find your courage to see Grandma now?" With an indifferent expression on her face, Claire uttered, "Stop your nonsense. Grandma asked everyone in the Wilson family to come. Charlie is my husband, so of course he is a member of the Wilson family too." Harold laughed sarcastically. "He is part of the Wilson family? Haha, he is nothing but a live-in son-in-law." Charlie rubbed his nose in Slate education and said to Claire, "Dear, let's just let him be, don't argue with him. Let's go in quick, Grandma is waiting for everyone." Claire nodded and walked into the house without batting an eye at Harold. Harold's face twisted in an irritated grimace, anticipating their embarrassment later. After entering the meeting room, Claire and Charlie found a place to sit in the corner. Very soon, Lady Wilson made a great entrance and the family meeting officially began. Lady Wilson sat on the head of the table. She knocked on the table and started cheerfully, "We, the Wilson family, have been waiting for a chance like this for so many years, a chance that will bring us to the next level, to the peak of the social pyramid in Orus Hill. The chance is finally here now." She continued loudly, "This time, Emgrand Group has announced a mega project of $2 billion. If anyone can tender a project from it, it will bring great and lucrative benefits. Moreover, this is Emgrand Group's first major project after its change of ownership. It is a great opportunity for us. If we can collaborate with Emgrand Group and leave a good impression on the new chairman, we will become very powerful and prominent in the future." The attendees were rather indifferent and impassioned as compared to Lady Wilson's enthusiasm. In fact, it wasn't anything new for the Wilson family wanting to collaborate with Emgrand Group. However, for the longest time, Emgrand Group had ignored the Wilson family's request. What made Lady Wilson think that they could get a slice of the mega pie from them now? It was impossible. Annoyed by the silence, Lady Wilson's face flushed with anger and she shouted furiously, "Why are all of you dumb now? Do none of you have any confidence in taking a tiny slice of pie from the $2 billion project?" Everyone exchanged nervous glances but no one dared to talk. Lady Wilson was getting more agitated now. She gritted her teeth and declared, "All of you listen to me. Whoever is able to get a $30 million deal from the Emgrand Group will be made the director of our company." Everyone's jaws dropped to the floor as if a bomb exploded in the room. Lady Wilson ruled the family and the company with an iron fist, so she had never once appointed a director in the company. After all, a director would have a lot of power in his hands that most of the time, only the future successor of the company would be qualified to hold the position. Now that she used the position as a reward, she must have hoped that she would find someone to do the job with the lucrative reward. It was certain that she was extremely eager for the project. Although the reward was very attractive, it was not an easy task to accomplish. To strike a deal with Emgrand Group and even get a $30 million contract from it? It was the joke of the century in the eyes of the Wilson family members. Even if Lady Wilson herself went to talk to them, the executives wouldn't even see her, let alone talk about a collaboration. The conference hall was as quiet as a church. Lady Wilson slammed the table furiously and shouted, "All of you are descendants of the Wilson family. Can't any one of you solve the problem for your family?" Then, she turned and looked at Harold. "Harold, I'll pass this job to you." Harold managed a bitter laugh and quickly said, "Grandma, even the White family has been kicked out by Emgrand Group. Our family is a level lower than they are. How can we strike a deal with Emgrand?" Lady Wilson chided indefinitely, "Rubbish. How dare you deny yourself before you even try? You are even more hopeless than the loser Charlie." Actually, Lady Wilson had no confidence in this either, but she didn't want to be the head of a family that was always at the second or third level of the social pyramid. She wanted the Wilson family to climb a rung higher. Emgrand Group's mega project was her only chance to make her dream come true now. Therefore, she would not give up even if it was difficult. She thought that as the eldest grandson, Harold, would accept the task willingly, but unexpectedly, he had refused right in her face. Harold felt dejected and depressed as well. No one in their right mind would accept this impossible task. He was certain that he would be kicked out immediately even before he could walk through Emgrand Group's door. At that time, not only would he fail on the task but he would also be ridiculed and mocked for his failure. That was why he could never agree with his grandmother's order no matter what. Lady Wilson glared at the rest of the crowd and shouted loudly, "What about the rest of you? Is there no one who would dare take on this challenge?" At this moment, Charlie nudged Claire with his elbow and whispered, "Darling, accept the mission." Claire shrieked in surprise, "Are you crazy? It is impossible for Emgrand Group to collaborate with a small company like us." Charlie smiled lightly and said confidently, "Don't worry, you'll definitely strike the deal." Claire's eyes widened in surprise. "Are you sure?" Charlie nodded seriously and said, "Of course. I don't think you'll have any problems at all. Trust me, seize the opportunity. Your status in the Wilson family will shoot up in the future." Claire couldn't explain why, but it was as if she was hypnotized by Charlie's words. She stood up for she could digest what he said and said to Lady Wilson, "Grandma, I'm willing to give it a shot." Chapter 6. Claire's announcement sent a shockwave across the room, making everyone gasp in extreme surprise. Everyone thought that Claire must be out of her mind. It was the worst time to stand under the limelight now. Other than failing miserably, there's nothing else she could achieve. Emgrand Group was the largest company in Orus Hill and the Wilson family was nothing more than an insignificant ant to them. Whoever took the challenge would only end up failing. Harold couldn't help but mock sarcastically, "Claire, do you really think that you can get a deal from Emgrand Group?" Wendy continued in the same mocking tone after her brother, "Claire, who do you think you are? What do you think Emgrand Group is? You being so reckless and irrational will only humiliate us, the Wilson family." Someone else added, "Wendy's is right. If she is kicked out by Emgrand Group, our family will be a laughingstock in Orus Hill." Blood rushed to Claire's face and she felt her face burning in embarrassment. Her status in the family had plummeted since she married Charlie. Not only did the family members ignore her and elbow her aside but they also derided her parents. She felt that if she could strike that deal with Emgrand Group, she could consolidate her position in the family. The most important thing was that her parents could also stand up tall and be proud of who they were. But under the sarcastic comments and condemnation, she wanted to withdraw herself from her silly idea. She glared at Charlie in annoyance. How did he bewitch her and why did she listen to him? She shouldn't have made such a silly suggestion in the first place. Lady Wilson was very angry as she listened to the audience's verbal exchanges. No one dared to accept the task after she asked several times. Now that Claire courageously stood up to take the challenge, these people started ridiculing her. Lady Wilson had always disliked Claire, but at this moment, she was glad that Claire was at least willing to walk the impossible line, unlike the rest of the members who were only good at giving her trouble. Especially her favorite grandson, Harold. He was such a disappointment. Because of this, Lady Wilson's attitude towards Claire changed a lot. She said immediately, "Stop your nonsense, you cowards. I'll pass the task of striking a deal with Emgrand Group to Claire." Sheepishly, Claire mumbled, "Don't worry, Grandma, I'll try my best." Harold puffed a breath from his nose and sneered coldly, "You try your best, and then what? You'll embarrass us when you fail later." Charlie asked in a mocking tone, "Harold Wilson, why do you taunt Claire like that? Do you think that the Wilson family is not qualified to collaborate with Emgrand Group?" Harold had never expected that the loser Charlie Wade dared to speak up during the family meeting, not to mention in such a high horse manner. Seeing the fiery slowly burning on Lady Wilson's face, he quickly explained, "No, I don't mean it like that, I just think it is impossible for Claire to strike the deal. That's all." Charlie laughed in amusement and asked, "What if she succeeds? Should we make a bet?" Harold grinned coyly. "Okay, let's bet then. Do you think I'm scared of your little threat? What do you want to bet? Let's hear you out." Charlie said, "If Claire succeeds, you will grovel at my feet and admit that you're wrong in front of everyone. If she fails, I will grovel at your feet and admit that I'm wrong. What do you think?" "Ha ha ha." Harold laughed out loud. "You're really digging your own grave, loser. All right, I'll take the bet." Charlie nodded with satisfaction and uttered, "Everyone, all of you are our witnesses. Whoever goes back on the bet would have his father, mother, grandpa, and grandma die." He intentionally emphasized the word, grandma, loudly and clearly, for he didn't want Harold to break their promise after he lost. Harold wouldn't dare to go back on his words after such a statement. If he did repent, he would be cursing his grandmother, Lady Wilson, to die. Lady Wilson would not let him off the hook so easily. Okay. Harold thought that he was on the winning side, but what Harold didn't know was that he was jumping right into Charlie's trap. He laughed loudly and said, "Everyone, you'll be my witness, I'll wait for you to kneel before me." Claire was startled by the entire event that she kept signaling to Charlie with her eyes, but he turned a blind eye to her. Lady Wilson couldn't care less about the bet. Her only concern was whether the Wilson Group could take a spot in Emgrand Group's collaboration list. If the deal was on, she wouldn't even mind if Harold called Charlie his daddy, let alone kneel before him. Thus, she said calmly, "Okay, that's all for today. Claire, you have 3 days to negotiate and strike the deal." Dismissed. After returning home, Claire's parents threw a fist at the young couple. Claire's mother, Elaine Wilson, paced the living room agitatedly and said, "Claire, you're crazy. How could you listen to the loser and accept the task without thinking it through?" Claire's father, Jacob Wilson, turned to Charlie and chided, "Charlie, you hopeless loser. You've pushed my darling daughter right into the grave this time." His face flushed in red as he continued, "If Claire fails this time, she will be elbowed by the rest of the family, and you'll have to bow to Harold like a peasant in front of the whole family. My dignity will be ruined." Charlie said earnestly, "Dad, Mom, everything will be all right if Claire succeeds in the negotiation and strikes the deal, am I right?" "Negotiate my ass." Jacob growled furiously, "Do you have any idea how powerful Emgrand Group is? They won't even bat an eye at the mediocre Wilson family." Charlie said with a smile, "Maybe someone will bat an eye at us, you don't know that. Honestly, I have confidence in Claire, I think Claire will strike the deal easily." Elaine sneered scornfully. "You think? Who are you? Do you think you are the owner of Emgrand Group? You are nothing but a loser, a piece of trash. How do you dare be so ignorant and confident?" Chapter 7. Looking at her parents ridiculing Charlie, Claire sighed and said, "Dad, Mom, don't blame Charlie for this. It was my idea. I just don't want our family to be looked down on anymore. Haven't we suffered enough all these years?" Claire's mother blurted, "But still, you can't take on such a task. It's not just you, even if your grandma goes in person, they wouldn't entertain her." Charlie managed a bitter smile as he watched the bickering. He bet that his snobbish in-laws would never believe that he was the real owner of Emgrand Group. At this exact moment, there was a knock on the door. "I'm coming." Elaine heaved a distressing sigh as she walked to the door and opened it. Charlie shifted his gaze to the door and saw a young man donning an Armani suit standing at the door. The man looked very charming and alluring with a Patek Philippe watch on his wrist, which seemed to be worth at least $4 million. Elaine shrieked excitedly, "Hey, Wendell! Why are you here?" The man was Wendell Jones, the young man of the Jones family who had been pursuing Claire relentlessly. Wendell donned a smile and said, "Auntie, I heard about Claire's negotiation with the Emgrand Group, so I'm here to give her some ideas." "Wow, you really are our family's life savior." Elaine was very excited and thrilled, and she looked at him like she was looking adoringly at her son-in-law. She quickly welcomed him into the house and said, "Wendell, could you help Claire to win Emgrand Group's contract?" Wendell nodded with a polite smile. He ignored Charlie entirely, treating him like a lowly ant. He walked straight to Claire and said gently, "Claire, why didn't you tell me anything about this? This is huge. Anyway, don't worry, my family has some connections with Emgrand Group. I'll speak to my father, let's see how we can help you with this." Frankly, Wendell's father wasn't as influential as he claimed to be, but he was simply trying to win Claire's heart by saying so. Claire knew that Wendell had feelings for her all along, so she said indifferently, "Wendell, I appreciate your kind offer, but no thanks, I'll find a way myself." Elaine gaped in bewilderment and chided, "Claire, are you crazy? Mr. Jones is kind and generous enough to pay you a visit and help you. How could you say such things?" Claire remained quiet, but Charlie asked Wendell, intrigued, "Mr. Jones, I'm curious, how can you help Claire? Emgrand Group is so big and I don't think you're much of an influence to them, right? And now you claim that you have a way to help Claire win the contract?" Wendell sneered contemptuously and said, "What do you know? The Jones family and Emgrand Group have been cooperating partners for years. This time, our family can get at least 1/3 of their $2 billion project. Until then, I'll ask my father to allocate $10 million as a subcontract to Claire. Mission accomplished, isn't it?" Charlie gaped in surprise, "Wow. I didn't know that the Jones family has such an intimate relationship with Emgrand Group." Wendell sneered. "Of course. Everyone in Orus Hill knows about that." He then glared at Charlie disdainfully and uttered, "Charlie Wade, let me offer you a piece of advice. A frog in the well like you had better leave Claire now. A hopeless man like you can't bring her happiness, you'll only be her burden." Claire said coldly, "I'm sorry, Mr. Jones, I don't need your help and please watch your mouth." Dumbfounded, Wendell said in disbelief, "Claire, I'm helping you. Why are you still taking this loser's side? Why are you so protective of him?" Claire said in a serious tone, "He's not a loser, he's my husband." A gloomy cloud hovered over Wendell's face. He growled furiously, "Okay. You asked for it, do as you please. I want to see how you're going to solve this problem. Don't come crying at me for not giving you a chance later on when you fail." Then, Wendell turned around, slammed the door, and left. Elaine went after Wendell hurriedly, but he was long gone. She slapped her thighs indignantly, pointed at Charlie's nose, and screamed, "You! How dare you! What else can you do besides being Claire's burden? Mr. Jones had kind-heartedly lent a hand but you chased him away." Charlie said flatly, "Mom, he's all talk. He can't even win a contract with Emgrand, how can he help Claire?" "Bullshit!" Elaine scolded. "What do you know, you ignorant fool? The Jones family can get 1/3 of the $2 billion contract." Charlie was inexpressive but deep in his heart, he was grinning as he thought, "I don't know how powerful the Jones family is, but I know that my Emgrand Group will never have any connection with them anymore. Even if they did work together on many projects previously, from now on, all of this will be terminated." Of course, Claire couldn't read her husband's mind. She turned to her mother and said, "Mom, don't blame Charlie. Just wait until I return from Emgrand Group." Ha! Elaine sighed in great dismay, feeling that God was unfair to her. She had married a useless husband, while her daughter had married an even more useless man. What had she done to end up like this? Chapter 8. The next morning, Claire brought the file filled with proposals that she had prepared overnight and went to the Emgrand Group office with Charlie. Standing in front of the 100-story building, Claire suddenly felt as if her heart was hollow and empty. How could such a magnificent company like Emgrand collaborate with the Wilson family? Not to mention that they were aiming for a $30 million deal. It was like a beggar approaching a wealthy man and asking for a $30 million change. It was absolutely ridiculous. However, she had promised her grandmother and accepted the challenge in front of everyone, so she had to go for it no matter what. Sensing her anxiety, Charlie stroked her head tenderly and said, "Dear, don't worry, go ahead, you'll make it. Trust me." Claire sighed dejectedly and murmured, "All right, let's hope so. Wait for me here." She took a deep breath and walked through the door. As he watched her walking in, Charlie took out his phone and called Miss Young. "Miss Young, my wife is going up to see you as we speak. You should know what to do." "Yes, Mr. Wade. Don't worry. I'll fulfill your every request. By the way, I heard that Emgrand Group has a rather close connection with the Jones family. Is that true?" "Yes, we did have a lot of projects with them, completed and ongoing. They wish to collaborate with us again on this new mega project and they've submitted the proposals and materials for my review. However, it is up to you to decide, Mr. Wade." Charlie said coldly, "I don't want the Jones family to be involved in the new project and any other projects in the future." "Yes, sure. Don't worry, I'll do as you say." Meanwhile, Claire walked into Emgrand Group's office building and waited for her appointment at the front desk. She didn't even know if Doris Young, the company's vice chairman, would like to see her. Not long after, a graceful female assistant approached her and began, "Hi, are you Miss Claire Wilson? Miss Young is waiting for you in her office, please follow me." Claire nodded in a trance. She was still waiting in line to make an appointment. How did Miss Young know she was here and call her in already? Could it be that Doris Young knew she was coming? It didn't make sense though. How could a prominent individual like Doris Young know about her? Although she couldn't figure it out, she might as well grab the rare opportunity as she was given. She quickly followed the assistant and she was escorted directly to Miss Young's office. Doris stood up from her chair and greeted Claire respectfully. "Hi, Miss Wilson, I'm Doris Young, Vice Chairman of Emgrand Group, nice meeting you." Claire was a little nervous as she met the most famous businesswoman in Orus Hill. She spoke, her voice trembling anxiously but staying calm. She said, "Hello, Miss Young, thank you for seeing me. I'm here to talk to you about the hotel project. Although Wilson Group is not as strong and prominent as other companies, I can assure you that we work very hard and have established a very positive reputation in the interior design and decoration industry." She handed over a document file and continued, "Miss Young, this is Wilson Group's portfolio, please have a look." Doris smiled gently and took the document from her. After a brief glance, she said immediately, "Miss Wilson, I've seen your documents, I think you are the perfect partner for us." "Really? Is it true?" Claire gaped in bewilderment. Why did it go so quickly and smoothly? It was a little too easy, wasn't it? Doris said with a smile, "Of course. I admit that Wilson Group does not match our requirements and qualifications, but our chairman thinks highly of you and he is willing to give it a shot." "Your chairman?" Claire said in a shocking tone, then asked, "May I know who your chairman is?" Doris smiled faintly. "Our chairman is Mr. Wade from Eastcliff." "Mr. Wade?" Claire frowned in confusion. "I don't think I know anyone by the last name of Wade except for my husband." Doris nodded gently. Charlie had ordered her not to disclose his identity, so she could only say that much. Other than Charlie Wade, Claire didn't know anyone by the last name of Wade, but she would never have guessed that her useless husband, who was an orphan, would be the Mr. Wade that Doris was referring to. Then, Doris added, "Miss Wilson, I see in your proposal that your quotation for the agreement is $30 million? Claire nodded anxiously and asked timidly, "Is it too much?" Doris smiled and answered, "Oh no, it is actually less than what we have budgeted for." Claire furrowed curiously. "What do you mean?" "Our chairman told me to increase the quotation to $60 million. In the middle of the conversation, Doris retrieved a contract and handed it to Claire. "Look, we've drafted the contract in advance for a total of $60 million. If you have no problem with it, we can sign the contract now." "Huh? This?" Claire gaped, dumbfounded. She had never expected that Emgrand Group, which seemed so unreachable from Wilson Group's perspective, would prepare the contract beforehand. Moreover, the amount had doubled. Grandma's goal for the project was $30 million, but the contract literally stated $60 million in black and white. Suddenly, she recalled her husband's serious and earnest face when he had asked her to accept the task at the family meeting the previous night. Why was he so confident? When they were at Emgrand Group's entrance she was very doubtful and pessimistic, but he seemed so positive and undaunted. Could it be that he had known the outcome all along? Who was he? Chapter 9. For an instant, an abrupt and outlandish thought appeared in Claire's mind. The Mr. Wade that Doris mentioned, could he really be her husband, Charlie Wade? When she processed it again, she found it to be too preposterous. How could it be? Charlie was an orphan who grew up in a welfare home. However, who else in the world would treat her so well besides Charlie? $30 million was an extravagant hope, but they gave her $60 million. She couldn't help but asked curiously, "Miss Young, may I know if your chairman is Charlie Wade?" Doris's heart skipped a beat. The boss had already demanded her to keep his identity secret, only to reveal his last name to the public. She would be blamed if his wife guessed it. She shook her hands frantically and said, "Miss Wilson, I hope you can drop it. Our chairman is the descendant of a prominent family in East Cliff. His identity is highly confidential and I have no right to disclose it." Claire nodded gently. She composed herself upon the mention of the descendant in East Cliff. Charlie was an orphan. He was definitely not a so-called descendant from a prominent family. Indeed, she was overthinking it. Claire still felt a little dizzy and confused when she exited Doris's office. She was holding a $60 million contract between Wilson Group and Emgrand Group in her hand. Everything unfolded like a dream. As soon as she saw Charlie at the entrance, she rushed to him excitedly and said, "Charlie, I did it. I did it." Charlie grinned in his heart and thought, "Your husband is the owner of Emgrand Group, of course you'd get the deal." However, he pretended to be surprised and said, "Wow. You managed to strike the deal for such a tough project. Dear, you're so incredible." "Not really, it's not that I'm good at it, but it seems that they had given the project to me for free." "Huh?" Charlie donned a confused look. "Why do you say that?" Claire was afraid that Charlie would be jealous if she told him about the chairman's intention, so she quickly diverted his attention and said, "It's a long story. Let's go back to the office now and tell everyone the good news." Charlie laughed. "Okay. This time, that bastard Harold must honor the bet and kneel before me." Claire nodded. "Yes. He is always so snobbish and arrogant. Let's give him a taste of his own medicine." Truth be told, Claire had her own temperament too. Harold and the rest of the family members had always looked down upon her and her husband, but now that she struck the impossible deal, she intended to tame them to be a little bit more humble. 10 minutes later, they arrived at Wilson Group. Everyone was sitting in the conference room, looking strange and peculiar. They knew that Claire had gone to Emgrand Group early in the morning, but no one believed that she could make it. They were here to make fun of her. Unexpectedly, she came back way earlier than they anticipated. When Claire and Charlie entered the conference room, everyone was looking at them with a sneering and sarcastic look. Harold started ignorantly, "Hey, Claire, you've come back in half an hour, huh? You couldn't even get through their door, am I right? Ha ha ha." Wendy continued, "Claire, you've failed in less than an hour. Breaking a world record, I see." A gloomy cloud hovered over Lady Wilson's face. She was annoyed. She knew that the project and Emgrand Group were difficult to tackle, but Claire should at least be serious and determined even if she failed. How could she give up so easily? Lady Wilson glared at her and growled, "Claire Wilson, you disappoint me." Charlie frowned at their reactions. Could they be more disgusting than this? They were ridiculing and chiding Claire without knowing the results yet. Especially Harold Wilson, the cocky bastard. Who did he think he was? How could he be so pompous? He should be getting ready to kneel before him. Claire was initially very excited and thrilled, but facing the crowd's mocking and teasing, the wrath of fury was burning inside her. She furrowed and said, "I'm sorry to let you down, but I've struck a deal with Doris Young of Emgrand Group." "What? You did it?" "No. No way. Impossible. You couldn't even meet Doris Young." Everyone recoiled in shock. "Claire Wilson, do you think we'll buy it?" Harold regained his composure, slapped the table and said furiously, "Miss Young of Emgrand Group is renowned elite in the city. Why would she want to meet you? Are you not clear about who you are?" Facing everyone's doubts and accusations, Claire retrieved the contract and handed it to Lady Wilson. "This is the contract. Please take a look at it." The contract was like a bomb that exploded in the middle of the conference room, sending shockwaves across everyone in the room. Harold still refused to believe it. He shouted loudly, "She must have forged the document. I don't believe that she can handle Emgrand Group." "He's right," Wendy added in great dismay. "Who does she think she is to strike a deal with Emgrand? It is a $30 million project. If she can do it, I would have already gotten the deal a long time ago." Claire sneered. "My cousin, you're wrong. It's not $30 million, it's $60 million. "No way." Wendy grinned. $60 million contract? You find it funny to lie like that, don't you? You think we're all fools, don't you? If you say the deal is 60 million, I can tell everyone that I'd get $100 million contract." Harold curled his lips in disdain and said, "Claire, you're treating Grandma and us like fools." He then turned to Lady Wilson and said, "Grandma, this is outrageous. You can't let her go just like that." Lady Wilson was so angry she was gritting her teeth indignantly. She already felt it was feeble to strike a $30 million deal, but Claire came back half an hour later saying that the contract was worth $60 million. Did the young lady really play her for a fool in front of so many people? Did she really think that, as the head of the family, she could be bullied like this? If she didn't kick the rebellious girl out of her family, how could she control the family in the future? Furrowing furiously, Lady Wilson slapped the table and shouted, "Claire Wilson! Go to the HR department immediately to proceed with your resignation." Claire gaped in extreme bewilderment. Were these people out of their minds? How hard could it be to just flip the contract open and take a look at it? At this moment, someone shouted abruptly, "Damn! The official social media account of Emgrand Group has just released a statement. The $60 million contract is real." Chapter 10. Everyone was stunned upon the sudden roar. Everyone hurriedly took out their phones and searched for Emgrand Group's official social media account. Indeed, the certified official account of Emgrand Group had posted the latest statement. A shockwave swept the conference room as the post was announced. Claire really did strike the deal. With twice the intended total value. It only took half an hour. How was it possible? How was it so easy? It didn't make any sense. Harold was feeling shocked and regretted. Before today, Claire Wilson was comparable to himself in terms of status or identity. If he had accepted the task yesterday, he would not give Claire a chance to shine herself regardless of the results. Yet, he refused because he feared that he would fail. He refused the mission, but the crucial point was that Claire had succeeded. It was like a loud slap to his face. Instantly, Lady Wilson picked up the contract excitedly and started reading it. Then, she let out a loud laugh. "Good, good, very good. Claire, you've done an excellent job." After that, she asked, "How did you do it?" Claire answered, "It is all thanks to Miss Doris Young. She thinks highly of us, the Wilson family." Claire wanted to be truthful, but after a second thought, she didn't even know who the chairman of Emgrand Group was. No one would believe her if she said the truth. Upon hearing this, Harold felt as if his heart had been stabbed 1,000,000 times and he wanted to die. It was no wonder Claire could win the contract. It turned out that Doris Young of Emgrand Group herself thought highly of the Wilson family. Did it mean that it wouldn't have mattered who had gone, after all? He berated himself for missing such a great opportunity. At this moment, Charlie spoke, "Harold, do you still remember our bet?" In an instant, Harold's face twisted in a disdainful grimace. How could he forget about the bet? Whoever lost the bet must grovel at the other party's feet. Claire had won the contract, so it was obvious that he had lost. No. No way. How can I grovel at that loser's feet? Over my dead body. He gritted his teeth and sneered. "Charlie Wade, who the hell do you think you are? You are just a useless toy boy who married into our family. Do you expect me to bow before you?" Charlie said flatly, "Yes, indeed, I'm a useless toy boy, but remember, we took an oath yesterday. Whoever breaks their promise would have his mother, father, grandpa, and grandma die." Again, he deliberately emphasizes the word, grandma. Sure enough, a layer of black covered Lady Wilson's face. She glared at Harold and asked coldly, "What about it? Do you really want me to die?" Harold panicked and blurted, "Grandma, don't fall for his trick. He just wants to humiliate me and to deride you." Charlie said calmly, "Harold, don't you try to fool Grandma now. Don't forget that you've made a vow. If you go against it, you'll be condemned. Do you want to curse Grandma?" "Grandma, we were just joking, you can't take it seriously." Lady Wilson wore an inexpressive look on her face and said, "You know that I'm a devoted Buddhist. How dare you break the promise after swearing to God?" "Grandma." Harold genuinely panicked now, because it was clear that his grandma was really angry. Seeing Harold's reluctance in keeping his promise that involved herself to save his face, Lady Wilson slapped the table fiercely and yelled, "Are you determined to break your oath now?" "Grandma, Harold stuttered hesitantly. In his mind, he made a quick deduction. If he abided by the betting rules and admitted his defeat to Charlie, he would lose face. But if he went against the bet and enraged his grandma, he would lose everything he had in the Wilson family. He would lose more than his face. No matter how reluctant he was, he gritted his teeth and muttered, "All right, I'll keep my promise." Charlie glanced at him quietly with a smile, waiting for him to come and kneel before him. Harold felt as if his legs were filled with lead. He strode slowly and with difficulty as he moved towards Charlie. He was so agitated that his whole body was shivering, clenching his teeth annoyingly. But then, his legs went jelly and then knelt on the ground. Thump! Some of the busybody onlookers even quietly retrieved their phones and aimed it at them. Harold bowed his head and said with a loud yet trembling voice, "I'm sorry." Then, he leaned over and knocked his head against the floor. Charlie uttered, "What did you say? I can't hear you, speak louder and clearer." Enduring the humiliation, Harold bowed his head again and shouted, "I'm sorry." Charlie sneered, "Oh, you're sorry. What are you sorry for?" Inside Harold, he wanted to kill and shred Charlie into a million pieces, but there was still one last bow. Thus, he bit his lips and said, "I shouldn't have doubted Claire's ability." Another bow to the floor. Charlie felt a dash of spring breeze surging through his body. He had been holding a grudge against Harold for a long time. Now that he had the opportunity to make Harold kneel on the floor like a dog and admit his mistakes, he felt so refreshed and excited. Claire's eyes widened in astonishment as she watched the entire event unfolding, suddenly feeling that her husband was different from before. However, she couldn't really tell what the difference was. When she recalled the confident look on Charlie's face when he had made the bet with Harold yesterday, she couldn't help but wonder if he had already known that she would succeed. Where and why did he have such strong confidence all of a sudden?